Now I call the meeting to order. Good afternoon, everybody. Chief Jones, could you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Certainly.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Ms. Gelsinger, would you please take the roll call?
Yeah. Sandy Smith,
Present.
Scott Dorman,
Here.
Jeff Robbins,
Here.
John Smith,
Here.
and Ryan Leahy.
Present.
All right, I'd like all of you to take a look at the agenda, please, for today's meeting. I have been requested to make that we make, it has been requested that we make one change to the agenda to accommodate someone's schedule, and we have someone from the county who will be attending with respect to item 7B on the agenda, so we would like to move that up to become item 7B, so be above 7B after financial matters. Apart from that, does anyone have any changes, suggestions, anything concerning the agenda? All right, with that change, could I have a motion, please, to approve the agenda as modified?
I'll move to accept the agenda as presented and modified.
May I have a second, please? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The motion carried. I was an aye, I just forgot to say it, sorry about that. All right, public comment. Does anyone, whether they're on Zoom or here present in the room, have any comment? See their hand, everyone's raising their hand. Moving on to item 6, have you all had an opportunity to take a look at the minutes of the regular meeting of April 27 and the 2 special meetings that occurred in the interim between then and now of May 11th and May 15th?
Yes.
Any questions, concerns, comments, changes to those minutes? All right, may I have a motion then to approve the meeting minutes as presented from April 27th, May 11th, and May 15th?
Make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from April 27th, May 11th, and May 15th.
May I have a second, please?
I will second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The motion carried. All right, we'll turn now to item 7A, financial matters and the treasurer's report, right?
Not much to report, basic business. We did not have a budget meeting as of yet. We moved that to July. But everything that I have reviewed in bills and finances is accurately presented.
And I assume we do not have.
Stephen
Ben.
Trevino.
Stephen is on.
He is
Yeah.
on. Okay, so we could introduce him to give his report? Or is he giving a report?
Yeah, if you guys are ready for me, if I'm perfectly fine with that.
We're ready for you.
All right, thank you very much, Madam Chair, members of the board. Not really much sticking out this month for our financial report. I would say the biggest thing is our tax revenue. Unfortunately, property tax revenue is a little behind from a budget to actual perspective. And this is more just of a collections of the county, not necessarily that we're, factually under budget, because the way that we enter this budget and try to track it is based on the previous 3 years of collection. So we try to align percentages based on the previous 3 years. So it looks like this year we're probably just a little slower. So my hope is we'll catch up. We're 253,000 behind in property tax revenue. Hopefully we catch up in the month of May. If the actual results are outside of that expectations, we'll follow up with the treasurer to make sure everything's fine. But right now the district is good from a cash flow perspective. That would be the only thing that it would affect for us being behind budget on tax revenue. But other than that, we are in trend where we've been in expenses. We're under budget on everything. And that pretty much wraps up the financial piece. I did want to give the board an update on our QuickBooks files. We have started moving over balances for the 1A QuickBooks file. So that's going to be, we hope, and we should be ready to present that in the month of June. We got a lot of the information moved over already for its own standalone file. I just need to do final reviews and make sure everything looks intact. And we're also removing the 1A from our regular QuickBooks file, what we normally see. So next month, we should be able to provide a balance sheet and income statement from that standalone. And I'll be more than happy to answer any questions. Other than that, that concludes my financial report.
Does anyone have any questions for Stephen? All right, then, you already, you said that you had looked at, have you presented the pay bills? I thought you did.
Correct.
And everything looked fine.
Everything looks good.
I've reviewed them. Has everyone on the board had an opportunity to review the paid bills and the transactions that were presented in your board packet? All right, so then I need a motion, please, to approve the transaction act that is listed on the treasurer's report.
Move to approve the transactions as presented here on the treasurer's report.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The motion carried. All right, we'll turn now to item 7D on the agenda, which we have moved up. It's discussion action Ray Larimer County Mitigation Grant Pilot Program. John, I guess this is actually, I have it listed as being for, by John, but actually Logan, it's you, correct?
Right.
All right, Logan, I'll turn it over to you.
Cool. And Josh Roberts is on.
Josh is on.
Doc, can you hear us?
Yeah, I sure can. I've got you. Thanks, guys.
Excellent. Thanks for joining us, Josh.
Yeah, thanks for having.
Ready?
Yeah, absolutely. One second.
Okay.
So yeah, thanks for allowing us to present this information tonight. I do have a little slideshow going here, because I wanted it to be more than just words on a sheet of
Do
paper.
you need the little clicker?
Actually, I set it up where they should automatically transition from slide to slide, so hopefully we'll see if it works. Thank you though, but I wanted to show some of the work that's being done in the community. If you haven't got a chance to look at Larimer County's website for this community mitigation grant, all these photos are on there so you can see past years and what work has been done. But as I'm reading through this proposal for you, I just wanted to have a visual for what kind of work we're talking about in our community. So, and then at the end, Josh, I'm just going to read through this proposal that we both looked over, and at the end, if you want to add any comments, feel free, and then it'll be both available for questions and clarification. So, feel free. Yeah, so, and you all have this, so I know it's a little wordy, but I wanted to provide you with the full details. So, this year, Larimer County Office of Emergency Management, OEM, received a total of 41 applications for funding through the 2026 annual cycle of their community mitigation grant program. 22 of which are from the Estes Valley projects located within the boundaries of Estes Valley Fire Protection District. A total of $341,977 was requested across all applications countywide. And of this amount, a subtotal of $186,127 was requested across the Estes Valley applications. Larimer County's budget for this program countywide is approximately $65,000, down from last year's budget of $100,000. The purpose of EVFPD partially supplementing grant requests is to recognize and support the continuous work being done in our community for hazard mitigation. One of the quickest ways to stifle progress with this type of work is inconsistency over the years. Providing partial funds will keep the motivational ball rolling for these communities to do great work. Rather than just talking about the work getting done, EVFPD would like to genuinely be a partner for risk reduction, both with the county as well as our neighborhoods and their leaders. Out of the 22 applicants previously mentioned, the county plans to award 7 of them with funds this year. The reasoning for not funding the remaining applicants is either due to ineligibility, for example, a business or an individual homeowner, or due to a lower overall score in application, in conjunction with significantly lower overall budget for this program. These application scores were arrived at by the Larimer County Office of Emergency Management Application Evaluation Team. EVFPD has reviewed these applications and scores and concurs with their assessment. EVFPD and Larimer County OEM Mitigation Coordinator Josh Roberts convened to discuss the best use of supplemental funds. The determination was made for this year to serve as a pilot program for EVFPD to provide supplemental funding. The planned funding breakdown will first look at the original 7 Estes Valley applications that the county plans to award. EVFPD has proposed to contribute to these applications in order to bring all their total award amounts up to at least $5,000. As an example, this means that if the county plans to award one of these applicants with $3,000, EVFPD will contribute $2,000 to raise the total amount to $5,000. An important note is that with these 7 applicants, the county is not planning on fully funding any of them, but partially funding them instead. Additionally, even with EVFPD contributions, none of the applicants will receive the full amount they requested. However, EVFPD raising the awarded amount to $5,000 will allow for larger amounts of work to be completed in these neighborhoods, hoping to further establish these programs for years to come. Additionally, in consultation with Josh and the assigned scores, we are proposing to partially fund an additional 7 projects that would otherwise receive no funds this year. These applications were strong as well, but with funding limitations, the county was unable to fund every project. We decided to propose funding a flat rate amount of $3,000 per project for these additional 7 applications. Again, this results in partial funding only, and no project will receive the full amount they were requesting. In total, EVFPD is proposing to contribute $36,000 towards these projects. I'm not going to go through the entire table, but we can put that up after I'm done here in a moment. So last, in closing, interest in and desire for fire mitigation has significantly increased in the Estes Valley community. EVFPD providing supplemental funding for these projects will help support this need in the community, strengthen our existing partnership with the county, and improve our operations during incidents and dealing with less overall hazards. Thank you for the opportunity to allow EVFPD to support these community initiatives, myself and Josh Roberts. So Josh, if you had anything that you wanted to add to that from your context, I think now would be a good time.
Nothing to add, sir. I think you did a great job covering it all. Thanks much. And obviously, I'm here in case anyone has any questions. Happy to just provide some perspective or dive into any details that's needed. Thanks, Logan.
Thanks, Josh. That's all I have.
Okay, I have a couple of questions and they are gonna go to potential conflicts of interest among those of us sitting here on the board. The first question I have is whether or not you're requesting this is a one-time contribution and you would return to the board another time, say next year, if this process is undertaken again by the county and then they issue awards of various amounts and you would request, if you desire to do it again, some similar amount to increase those grants up to 5,000 or to give a $3,000 grant to those who weren't awarded anything. Is that right?
This is just a one-time proposal for single payment.
Okay, so I need to disclose, I'm on the board of directors of the Homeowners Association of Windcliff. I don't believe I have a conflict, given your answer to that question, because it's not proposed here that you will be giving any money to Windcliff. Is that correct?
Correct.
However, we have another board member, Jeff, who is on the board. Why don't I've been turned over to you to explain what you
Yeah,
got.
so I'm the president of our POA. And we are up there, we're Upper Bend Ranch. So we would stand to, get, it looks like as much as $4,000 from, supplement from you guys. So Sandy and I talked about this earlier. I think I don't have a choice but to recuse myself from, from voting on this issue.
I agree. Okay, so one of it, and I just want to verify with the rest of you on the board that you concur that I also do not have, a conflict, given that Windcliff is not expecting to receive any money from the fire department, but I just want to make sure I turn it over to all of you to talk about it if you think there's any potential conflict here, because I am on that book board.
Not getting any funds, so.
Okay. All right, so you can stay in the room, you just can't vote or contribute to the conversation on the subject. With that, I'd like to open up the issue for discussion. The motion that will be on the table would be a motion to, let me get to it. Glasses might be helpful. To approve the Larimer County Mitigation Grant Pilot Program as articulated by Logan. So I'm going to open that issue up for discussion now.
I got a little bit lost between the money, how much they're putting out, how much you guys are, how much this table shows that you're putting out.
Yeah.
It didn't. So, and you said that nobody gets 100% funding.
Correct.
From anything. Are you guys going to do anything as far as like individuals too, that have a lot of land?
Not with this particular program.
Okay.
We'd love to work with people in other projects, but they have a lot of land to get work done on, but this park program specifically is about community involvement. So you saw from the photos, this isn't just about, let's get the money to hire a contractor and we're done, you know? This is really about a neighborhood coming together to do the work together. And so there's no individual homeowners or individual parcel owners, this project specific.
Okay. So is the majority of the funds to remove the biomass?
The majority of the funds are for, and again, we do have the details, and Josh, I know, has the details of all of the applications. Most of them are things like chipping programs where people set stuff out on their lawns and chip them, or they come together and buy some tools to do mitigation, or they have roadside clearing. Those are the most common things that we see. One exception would be the Estes Valley Board of Realtors. And it'll be in the report that Chief talks about later, but we'll have an event this Saturday where people can come to the station and pick up pine beetle pheromone packets, up to 5 per household. So that's an example of a new initiative. We haven't tried that before, but with, of course, the rise of pine beetle, you know, it's not just wildfire. Sometimes it is hazard mitigation, such as floods, such as pine beetles. Most of the time it is wildfire though, but if I answered your question.
Yes. Thank you.
So I just want to clarify something. What I understand in terms of the partial funding is that each of the communities that are listed here is as having requested and actually having been granted funds. The amounts listed are the amounts actually granted. Each of those communities asked for more, but all of them were only partially funded relative to what they requested. But this, where it says county award, those amounts will be fully funded.
Yes,
correct?
that is what is currently on the table for what these communities will get. So you see the no awards, all those 7 communities, right now, they're not going to receive any funds. And then the second column, EVFBD, that's what we would tack on to the county's award. And then the third column is the total award that community would receive.
And is this amount in the budget somewhere?
It's specifically from 1A funds, so not the general funds.
So we are 100% covered by that.
100%. Yep.
And it meets all of the grant requirements in order to fill their obligations for the money, I would assume.
You mean on the ones that didn't get an award?
Well, no, I mean, when we spend the 1A money, don't we have to spend it under specific guidelines with? And I would assume that this has been weighed against those
It meets
guidelines.
those guidelines, wildfire mitigations and.
Okay.
And then the grant separately also has requirements, and that's a good question. In terms of the ones where there was no award, is that, are they still going to be obliged to meet the requirements of the grant, even though they didn't receive a grant originally from the county?
Right, so the way that we formatted it to simplify it for these communities is really the communication and grant scope and outcomes and criteria is all gonna come from Josh and their team and his team at OEM. So they're not gonna receive an email from Josh saying you get 2,000, and then they're gonna receive an email from me saying you get 3,000. It's all gonna be one email and communication, and it's gonna function the same for it's gonna essentially function that they were awarded. But the money would just be coming from us in the case of the last 7 versus the county, but they'll still be in charge of making sure, ensuring that they follow the guidelines for the grant.
All right, Josh, I have a question for you. On the ones that don't have an award from you, from the county, but are getting a contribution from the Estes Valley Fire Protection District. I know that your grant has certain deliverables that are required by each of the communities that did receive grants, like they have to send photos, there usually has to be a visit from you, it can be by Zoom, there has to be, you know, a variety of different metrics met. Are you going to be overseeing that relative to the communities as to which you did not issue an award, but that we are?
Yeah, it's a great question, and the short answer is yes. Essentially, if you guys choose, to provide this supplemental funding to the total pool, for this grant program, then it'll allow us to fund, like Logan's saying, in the case that you just asked, those 7 that we can't fund right now because we don't have any money, then we could fund, but it would all just funnel through the established program. And so I'd communicate those things. I think what I'd like to do is just copy Logan. Logan would be in partnership on this thing. What we say, it's kind of a good pilot opportunity, this year, get a little bit more intimate understanding of how we're running it. So that way you guys can just continue to discuss things over the next year. If you wanted to do anything, maybe paralleling or separate, those are discussions for later. But long way around to your answer, and that is, yeah, it would just run through me. It wouldn't change anything else. It's now, you guys would authorize those funds to be used. Now we have more funding to use on those applicants in Estes Valley.
Communities still have the same deliverables,
That's right.
And the end of project reports and all of the stuff that they, okay.
That's
all right.
Yep, that's correct. Yep.
Is there an in-kind match from the organizations that are requesting the funds that they have to provide?
No.
Nothing.
Or-
Oh, apologies. Go ahead.
No, you dang it. You're
Sorry, Logan. I thought that was directed at me. Sorry about that. There's no required in-kind match. The way that we have that application and the way the proposals come in, we try to tease out that information because that can be used in our evaluation of the proposals or the applications, but there's no required in-kind match to receive assistance.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
So. Correct me if I'm wrong, this is kind of like, we had the mitigators that were going out and doing certain amount of acreage, and this is kind of the way. To meet the same acreage, piggyback through the county, so we don't have the expense of running all of the paperwork and logistics to it. And just back up what they're unable to fund. Correct?
yeah, I mean, that's.
We reach the same goal, but a different route.
Right, yeah,
Okay.
since we don't, we don't have a mitigation crew, but we have the funds specifically for wildfire mitigation.
Yeah.
The way that Josh and I were looking at this was, this is a successful program that they've been running for 5-6 years now, Josh, something like that. 5 years.
5 years, yeah.
And again, the just seeing that interest explode in the county or in Estes Valley specifically. And yeah, it's a way for us to use those wildfire mitigation funds for the landscape treatments through their program that's already existing. So.
Any other questions?
Save money.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a great program. Well, I know it is because our community did it last year too. Any other questions?
Maybe you said this, maybe you didn't, when the email goes out, I know we're not gonna specify, but is it specifying in the email what Estes Valley's giving them as opposed to what the county's giving them?
Yes, Josh raised your hand. Look at you. Go for it, Josh.
Go for it, John.
Yeah, awesome. What I wanted to offer is at present, we haven't communicated in writing or anything that, that this, what we've indicated to folks is that they, like those 7 that aren't receiving funding from us currently, what we've indicated to them is they've been selected for a contingent award. We haven't communicated in writing, to my knowledge, that it would be coming from you guys, right? But we have said it's contingent. And then if you guys do vote and choose to authorize that funding, what I would like, I would like to include you guys some way in that notification to these folks. And maybe it's just a same letter that we use, but we just slap y'all's logo, next to ours to show that it's a joint effort. I would think that it's important for these folks to know that that funding is coming from you guys.
Yeah, I agree. Any other questions for either Logan or Josh?
I would go just a little bit further than that, just put a number on what Estes Valley's contributing to these groups and how much they're contributing to the groups. In the letter.
So in the letter, do you say a particular community?
Get a second, they should know Estes Valley's.
Will they know that in the letter? So they'll know, say they're getting 1,000 from you and 4,000 from us. They'll know that. Okay. All right, are we all ready for the motion? All right, may I have a motion then to, I have a motion to approve the Larimer County Mitigation Grant Pilot Program that has been presented by Logan Lassie.
I would make a motion to approve the Larimer County Mitigation Grant Pilot Program. I'll say no. Well, sorry.
John has seconded. Thank you. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Josh.
Thanks, Josh.
Yep. Very welcome, y'all. Thanks for the invite.
Thank you. Yes, of
I
course.
just want to thank Logan and Josh for really working hard on this and being creative and putting their minds together.
It's a great idea.
22 out of 41 applications shows the good work that he's doing.
It's a great idea. And you really have increased, everybody in my community knows you by your first name. And they were really disappointed that you were only gonna come to their homeowner or annual meeting by Zoom. They
We'll see if I
actually
can-
demanded that I come and talk to you to see if I could get you in person.
We'll see if I can. We'll see if I can.
Because they like you.
Are you gonna feed him at least?
Yes, we'll feed him. He can have as many hot dogs as he wants.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, no, you are doing a fabulous job, and Josh is obviously also very, very effective, so
Definitely.
I think this is a great partnership, so congratulations.
Thank you, Derek.
Thanks, Logan.
Okay, so let's move on to now what was item 7B. I'm gonna keep calling them by what they are actually in the agenda. So we just finished with item 7D. But now we're gonna move to item 7B on the agenda, which is discussion and action Ray Fire Department's 120th anniversary, which is in 2027. I'll turn it over to Chief Jones for that.
Yeah, a couple meetings ago, Vice President Dorman pointed out that 2027 will be our 120th anniversary. We'll make sure we include this in our 2027 work plan, put together a program for it, bring it back to you. We don't have any action requests for you at this time, just an acknowledgement, we've got it, and we'll put it on work plan for next year.
And is there anything that you want to discuss with us concerning the budget or the other three items that are listed here, inviting past volunteers or timing of future events?
No, we're not close to that yet.
Okay. So there's nothing.
No action.
No discussion on our part. Okay. All right, then I'm gonna move right along to item, is there anything, well, before I do that, is there anything, even though they don't require anything of us, is there anything any of you would like to discuss relative to this issue on the 120th anniversary?
Well, since I brought it up.
Yes, I thought you might, that's why I did this.
It's important that we recognize past volunteers, ones that are receiving pension and ones that aren't. If anybody has given anything to our organization. And it's something maybe we should look at doing every 5 years. Just in my opinion, and you'll have to come up with a budget, chief, as far as, whether we do a barbecue or whatever we do. But we used to do that in the past. Volunteer organization used to do that. We kind of got away from that as far as I know, but I think we should get back to it.
You'll see it on our work plan for next year.
Anybody else? All right, so we'll move on now to item 7C, which is going to be me. I'm gonna turn this on. All right, so the Fire Chief Search Committee has met numerous times. And done a significant amount of work in conjunction with, GMP, our, consultants that are engaged by the district to work with us on the search for a new fire chief. This gives you a sense of what we have done to date. The first thing we did is we worked on developing a candidate profile, which was distributed through various media sources, online and otherwise. And GMP developed marketing materials around that, that were publicized and seeking it. And this was the process that we undertook to seek various applicants for the position. Initially, GMP was the one to review all the applications that came in. They're experts in this area, and they were really able to cull through the numerous applications received, 19 of them to be precise, to select a group of 9 semifinalists that were to be interviewed by GMP, with the search committee participating via Zoom. And we didn't do that, it actually was Microsoft Teams, but same difference. We, as a group, sat behind Miranda's name with a little square on it, so they really couldn't see us. And we would funnel our questions into Don Lombardi. I'm pronouncing that right now. Who was the GMP consultant who was asking the questions. We developed the questions in advance. We worked with him on what he was going to ask each of the candidates. And then during the course of the interviews themselves, we had follow-up questions that we submitted basically via text message to Don, who then asked those questions. There were 2 semifinalists of the 9 that one had to drop out for family reasons, and another, the search committee, decided was not suitable for our purposes and did not elect to interview him. So we really interviewed, actually 8. So the one that dropped, we interviewed 8. One of the 9 that we were supposed to interview dropped out for family reasons. One of the 19 that was presented to us potentially as a semifinalist, we elected not to interview or include in the semifinalist group. Then the committee met after those interviews, and after a fair amount of discussion, we selected the final candidate finalists. We selected 4. Oops, that was the wrong direction. These are our 4 finalists. Peter Bryan, he's former fire chief in Rancho Cucamonga, Monrovia, Norco, California, mostly smaller areas near mountain terrain. He's presently a volunteer coordinator in Black Forest, Colorado. Kevin Nunn, who's currently the fire chief in North Tooele Fire District in Utah. Mark Mahoney, former fire chief of Federal Heights in Colorado. And Jason Clark, who's both the president of the Colorado Training Officers Association, as well as Special Operations Division Chief in the Eagle River Fire Protection District in Edwards, Colorado. We are not presently, at this meeting anyway, providing any additional biographical information on these candidates, as those are being developed by our consultants in conjunction with the finalists. Right now, we will be publicizing their biographical information and their photos and everything else no later than Friday of this week. We'll be doing that on the website via press release from the board, so all of our social media platforms, as well as physical posting here at the station. And again, that will occur no later than Friday of this week. The one thing I personally will say about each of these candidates is that I've not seen a collection of such deeply honest, full of integrity, and high character individuals. So I think that we have some really great candidates from which to choose. And I think that you'll all be pleased. I hope that you'll all be pleased. I'm moving along to the time, I keep doing that, okay, I think I'm just, there we go. I have it upside down, it's the problem. Okay, so the timeline, let's talk about the timeline of what is going to happen from here. Obviously, this week will be the press release and the publicizing of the information, the more involved or the more descriptive biographical information of the various candidates. But the timeline upcoming after that is that on June 17th, all four candidates will come to Estes Park and they will be given a tour of the district. And then they will participate in a member, volunteer and staff meet and greet meeting. And then after that, a separate community meet and greet. So members of the community can come and have an opportunity to meet with them. As well as all of our volunteers and all of our staff and everybody else have an opportunity to meet with them here at the station. Everybody who meets with these folks on the 17th will have an opportunity to basically take their phone and scan a QR code that will give them the ability to offer comments on each of the candidates or any one of the candidates that they desire to make a comment on. As they have had, after they've had an opportunity to meet or talk to any of them. The next thing, the next day, on June 18th, we have 5 panels. Each panel has about 6 people, 5 to 6 to 7 people on it. There is 1 board member per panel, so there will not be any single panel that has more than 1 board member on it. Each panel will also have a member of at least 1 member of the search committee on it. And that will take the majority of the day from about 8 o'clock till 4:30 p.m. The panels are, so sorry, this thing is. The panels are comprised of not only board members and search committee members, but members of our community, some of our partners, stakeholders and others, and local, town governance officials, police department, sheriff's department, library. There's a variety of folks that are coming from the community as well. So I think volunteer and numerous volunteers, staff members. So the panels are populated by a very good representation from all of the constituent groups, including volunteers, staff members, community members, town governance members, law enforcement and others, partners in the community. After all of those panels meet and have had an opportunity to offer their assessments, the search committee will then meet and review all of the panel's observations about each of the candidates. And it will be our goal in that meeting to decide collectively as a committee on which of the candidates we would recommend that the board hire as the fire chief. Now, of course, that recommendation is not binding, but because we've been so involved in the process, we felt that it would be a good idea to at least offer our insight into who we think among the 4 we would think that the board should select. Of course, the board can act however it wishes to act, and we'll do so, and we'll have a full and fair discussion of that issue as a board on June 22nd. At which point we will have a board meeting and hopefully the board will decide at that point which of the 4 candidates will become the new chief. And then we will also at that time appoint a negotiation committee, a subcommittee of the board to negotiate a contract with that newly selected or selected chief that we now have to negotiate a contract with. Keep in mind, according to our lawyers, Ashley, 14 days. We have a 14-day waiting period. We can't just, whoever we select can't just start the next day. We have to wait for 14 days, which of course is probably good because it gives us a chance to start talking about contracts and what that's gonna be like. Is that true? Can we negotiate during that period?
So your 14 days is between now, when you've announced the finalists, and when you can pick the candidates, so there doesn't, the negotiations.
Okay, so see, I'm glad you were here because I have a 14-day waiting period in the wrong place. Okay, well, it may take that long to negotiate a contract. We'll see, maybe not. So during the period between June 22nd and whenever, the subcommittee of the board is negotiating the contract, will then be negotiating it, and then we'll have to come back together as a board and approve the contract, and then the person can start.
Once the contract's approved.
Once the contract's approved, you can start the next day. What I'm hearing, is that correct? All right, so the 14-day period starts now. So again, that is because of this, because we've now announced the names. And again, there will be a fuller, more fulsome announcement, as well as presentation of their biographical information no later than Friday this week. So this is really for board members, guys. We need to be very careful during this process, during the panel interviews on June 18th. Because all 5 of us are going to be participating on a panel, we need to avoid during breaks, during the lunch hour, things like that. Avoid discussing district business matters of any type. It is okay to have lunch together, just don't talk about district business. You can talk about the weather, your food choices, your favorite movie, anything else, how the food tastes, anything else. But we cannot discuss with other board members anything related to the interview process, anything related to district business, anything related to what happened in your panels or anything else. And, so just when you arrive, go directly to your room, interview room, whichever panel you've been assigned to. You will be the only board member on that panel, so there's not a problem there. It's really gonna be just, when we take breaks and, if we end up happening to be all three of us in a room, we just have to be very careful to avoid having any discussions about district business. So I'm gonna caution you now in advance to be very cautious about that. And be careful also just within creating the appearance of that. I mean, if you see 2 other board members and you walk up to them and if the 3 of you are standing in the corner chit-chatting about the weather, but nobody else is there, it creates an appearance that maybe you're having a discussion about business. So try not to do that if you can avoid it. Again, it's just a break. Socializing is fine, but talking about district business is not. Otherwise, we need to notice a meeting, and there's no point in doing that because we're not meeting as a board for any of this. So again, be aware of appearances. If you see 2 other board members around, just move to another location or something just during that day. And that is it. Do any of you have any questions?
Just make sure the food's good, so we have something to talk about.
Or bad, so you have something to complain about. That's both ways, yeah. Any other questions?
I just want to say that the whole process, GMP, worked very well. They're very involved. They're a professional organization that does this. And they helped us through this whole process, which I was really impressed with. And I think we come up with 4 very high quality candidates. We have the final 4, as they say. I'll move forward.
Yeah, and this committee was a great group of people. I mean, they all worked hard. They all came to every meeting. Justin and John and Nate and Warren and Scott, and okay, as soon as I start listing people, Marinda, we had a very, very Rick. I didn't forget you.
I noticed.
I didn't forget you, I just said your name. We had a really, really good group of people, and very devoted group of people. And Rick, by the way, I mean, he would call in from Costa Rica when the first meeting started, before he got back. So he was very devoted and had a lot to offer. So the point is that we had a great committee, and each member had a lot to offer. Our consultants were great. Dawn was particularly good. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate all of you. Any other questions? So I don't think we need any action from you because, as I recall, the board authorized us to select the finalist, but, do you all want to vote to affirm our decision here? I don't think it's necessary either, because you already did that, so when we made that selection, having made that selection, that was board action, since the board authorized us to act. All right, so without any further discussion on that topic, no discussion? Any questions from anyone in the room? Or this is one of those issues that might benefit from letting others comment or question? Nope, okay. Moving on now to item, okay, we already did D, so item 7E, discussion action, Ray, election update, Chief Janice.
Okay, this is gonna be, depending on how far we go with this process, this is gonna become a regular piece, because there's a lot going on this whole issue of financial independence and professional election. I'll just run through very quickly here, from my staff report and, point out to where I think there might be some potential action by the board. We have got a contract with the Wellcert company. We've executed that, signed by Scott a week ago. And that's moving along. We've met our obligations there. Thank you to Ashley. All of her work to try to put this together on a really tight schedule. Probably the next item is the survey. I have new information hot off the press on that. We will receive a review copy of that survey probably tomorrow. Certainly Rebecca and I will take a look at it. I think in the past board meeting, you've had some discussion of whether board members would like to provide input on that as well. It's moving very fast. They would like to have any input back in by Thursday, Friday at the latest, so that they get the final of this going and get this going next week. So we're on a really short timeline. In my staff report, I suggested maybe some options of how you could provide that input. One is I could send you the survey, you can send me comments or questions, and I can send it to them. You could do a work session. That might be really hard to do now because we're on such a short timeline. Or I think Sandy may have mentioned last week, possibly appointing board members to do that. And maybe doing a conference call in the next 48 hours with the consultants to give the input on behalf of the board. So if you would like to do that, those are the three options that I thought of. Maybe there are other options as well. So it asks for, what action we would like to take on that, if any.
This sounds like, we have two things to do here. One is to discuss how to handle the immediately pending receipt of the survey questions. And the second is to have a work session scheduled for June 29th.
Yeah, I was gonna get
To
to that in the
discuss. Oh, okay,
next paragraph.
okay,
Yep.
all right, so, but we're under the same item here, 7E for this, right?
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the first one. What do y'all think? I think it's more transparent, to have either a work session or a committee that then also reports back on its work. So given how immediate it is, it might be better to appoint two people from the board to work with Warren.
Is this just to review
The
the
questions.
questions?
Provide input on the questions.
Okay,
Go ahead, Jeff.
In the
well, I
next
was just gonna say, I don't know what. I think that all of us should review the questions, personally, I feel like I don't think any of us are expert in the area of designing questions. What to ask the public about this matter. That's why we hired these guys. I don't think we have to spend any time on this. Just look at the questions, and if anybody has any questions or any objections, they can bring it up and handle it.
Why don't you just send everybody separately an email with the questions and we can all offer our input. I mean, it's not like the questions are gonna be kept secret or anything. They're gonna be going out there to the public in survey. So yeah, I think it's probably best to
I would agree with that. I don't think we need to have a special meeting to determine the questions.
No, definitely not.
Information to you and
Or, well, the issue is whether two people participate with him in
Yeah.
a committee in the next 2 days to review the questions and participate in that, but I think all five of us would, I mean, you may not get any comments from any of us because none of us are experts, but at least you have the benefit of each person's individual thoughts on whatever questions there are. So if you just email everybody
Okay.
and then,
I'll do that tomorrow, and if you could, Rebecca will be the recipient of that input when you come back, because I will be here next, later this week and next week, so Rebecca is fully up to speed on this, has met with each time with the consultants with me. So she'll be the main contact on it, but I will send that with a cover letter, with the survey draft tomorrow. And as soon as I get it, you can comment back to Rebecca and just copy me, and then Rebecca will transmit that information.
yeah, why don't you just copy Rebecca on the email you send us, and then you guys, everybody just, you send it individually to each board member, and then we'll each just hit reply all, and that covers it.
should reply single, should be.
Well, they're gonna send it individually to us.
Thought we should reply all.
We'll reply all with just be Rebecca and Warren
Yeah, okay.
in the scenario I'm proposing, not to everybody else.
I
There,
just wanna make sure.
we're not gonna be discussing it amongst ourselves, we're just gonna be giving you.
Okay.
So if Warren sends an email to you individually, because he's gonna send it to each of us individually, no other board member copy. Warren sends it, copies Rebecca. If you hit reply all, you're just sending it back to Warren.
I'll
Okay,
take care of that.
thank you.
Okay, you can expect that, by the end of business tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so let's move on then to the second issue under 7E, which is the work session proposal for June 29th.
So, if all goes to plan, the survey will be out sometime, early next week, it'll be out for 2 to 3 weeks. And we were hoping that maybe they have the results back by your meeting on the 22nd, but we don't think so. So we are asking that you schedule a special meeting for the 29th of June to receive the results and then hopefully make a no-go decision on election this fall, or defer to next year.
Okay, board members, can you please all take a look at your calendar? And see if you're available on June 29th for I believe, relatively brief. Well, maybe not, because we're gonna be discussing whether to do an election. So June 29th, it's a Monday, so maybe at the usual time, 4:30, unless that's not doable.
I'm good.
We're good, all right, so then we will have a special meeting of the board on June 29th at 4:30 PM here in this room. To schedule, to consider the report from the survey consultant. I don't think I need a motion to schedule a meeting, so we just did. Yeah, all right.
Okay, thank you. All right, next item is, we are, because the timelines are so short, that we have to make the assumption that we're moving forward, because that's so short. So we are developing a really detailed master schedule to take us from where we are now to an election in the fall. Obviously, if you make a decision on the 29th not to go, well, that work will still be valuable because you can use it, the next time around. So some of that work will be done. So again, we will have that scheduled for you on the 29th. We are working on, right now, at the staff level, putting some numbers to some of the issues that we want to include on this tax initiative. Certainly, a big one is apparatus equipment replacement. We've had some of that work that's been done in the past years. Now we're putting numbers to it so that we can say, we need to be putting away X 750, 675, whatever it is, $100,000 a year into an apparatus and equipment vehicle replacement program. We are looking at, other things. John and I have met with an architect that worked on this building 5 or 6 years, 4 or 5 years, yeah. And looked at some of the same issues that we're looking at now. Some of the health and safety issues in our bay, some of the congestion in our bay, office consolidation, those kinds of things. So we'll have some idea what those costs could potentially be. At your last meeting, you did decide to not include a full replacement of the station as part of this project. So that's, that's off the table. But what can we do with the station as it's sitting now? So that is something that is in the works. I will point out that we're probably gonna reach a decision point fairly quickly, or you'll reach a decision point fairly quickly of whether office consolidation for all of our full-time staff in this building is feasible or not, and whether that piece is a little, in the mix or not. Our initial look at this with the architects is probably not. It may work out, but because of the limitations of our square footages, that just may not be possible. So, but they're looking at that for us. So that's one thing we have not done yet is we have not reached out yet to our workforce or our volunteers, as well as our paid staff on what things we could do within this project to especially support our volunteer system to make it the most effective as it possibly can. What can we do with more training, equipment, incentives, pension, all those kinds of things that we volunteer, possibly gives us the system that we have. One of the things that we've already found talking to our consultants, that's going to be a very powerful piece of this project as we move forward with this. Our volunteer system is not only very effective, it's a tremendous value to the community. To provide the service that we provide to the community right now would be $12 to $15 million for the paid workforce. That's a big deal. Tremendous value. So, supporting and growing our volunteer system. Not only is it a good thing by itself, but it's a tremendous value to the community. A little bit spent over here, huge benefit here. So we're looking at that. So that'll start coming together probably if you decide to move forward after the 29th. A lot of discussion on that piece probably in July. How do we match up what we think we can generate at a quarter cent, at a half cent, and compare that to what the cost we might be looking at on some of these projects. Then we'd have to decide, or you would have to decide how much of a sales tax to go for. Quarter cent sales tax, or quarter cent, half cent, 3/4, whatever it is. That's gonna be, if we move forward, that's gonna be a large job. So the cost estimate project is working along, and Justin and John are doing a lot of that legwork. But the piece we haven't engaged yet is especially with our volunteers to get it. And that'll be coming pretty soon. Another item is one of the aspects of this project is our wildfire risk reduction part of our organization is already funded separately by one entity, as well as all these other things, the other grant programs. So that isn't really.
For how many more years? 3?
8 on 1A and 5, at least 4 on the CWDG, and there'll be others.
Gotcha.
Okay. So, but anyway, that's not part of this particular project right now. But yeah, I think your point is well taken, that at some point in time, some of those grants will run out.
Right.
So if we want to continue the effectiveness of our wildfire risk reduction work, we may have to find another, but that's fairly far in the future at that time. But on the wildfire response side, what can we do to improve our wildfire response as well, training the equipment, those kinds of things. And I think you probably remembered from our discussion with our consultant just 2 weeks ago, how important he said that was to make this go. That is a super hot topic all across the state. So that's there. Certainly our interaction with the town, we have continuous discussions with Travis and Ian with the police department on how this works in with the city's plans, and how, if we do move forward, how we craft and present that joint message of how this is important, not only fire, but the public safety in general for the town and the whole valley. We are developing a preliminary budget. We know how much our consultant and our survey is gonna cost. Right now, up till the 9th of this month. And then after that, we're gonna have to get into the details for promotion and website and all that stuff. And again, you guys approved their proposal with the big numbers, and we're gonna have to go into those and figure out exactly what all those numbers are, mailing and social media, all that kind of stuff, message development, all that kind of stuff. So we're working on that. The last thing I have here to talk about is an issue committee. You're all aware, from our discussion with the consultant, and I think in your executive session later, I'll talk about, there will reach a point in time where after you call for the question, and the question's gonna go on the ballot, we as public folks, at least, staff, we're not gonna be able to spend any public money on it, so we'll be quite restricted in what we can do. And that then the campaign would actually be taken over by an issue committee. And that issue committee would be fully separate from the organization. They would raise their own money to do it, and they would be the ones that would campaign. And I think that's probably something we talked about in the executive session. So, as our consultant pointed out, you might want to be thinking about that already of who may serve on that, on that committee. The sooner we could get that started, probably the better as well, if you make a decision on which one you go. So that's where we are right now. The only other thing I want to point out, and we talked about it last meeting, was if we do go, make the decision to go, it's gonna be a big lift. The next 2 or 3 months is gonna be a lot of work. I would anticipate doubling your meetings for the next 3 months, probably. Probably at least another meeting and probably a work session in there, so it'll be not only, a heavy lift for staff, but it'll be a heavy lift for you as well. And then when we can actually get into the campaign, even more so. So with that, that's my report. You've taken action on the 2 items that I asked for action on, so those are done. So certainly answer any questions you have that I have knowledge of.
Any questions, Richard? Okay, moving on to item 7F. Thank you, Chief. Discussion action, rate participation with the town of Estes Park on satellite camera contract.
Yeah, this is something that's been going on for a little bit. As far as an action item, we're not asking you to take any action tonight, although you may want to provide some input on this. A few months ago, we started working with Laramie County Sheriff and with the police department here in the town on possibly adding a wildfire detection camera up here on Prospect Mountain. And that's been kind of on and off for a while. We don't have any cameras up here. If you look down on the Front Range, there's cameras everywhere. XL's got them all over the place. Some of the cities have them. The water, the water purveyors, Northern Water, they all have them. And they all can be used for wildfire detection. And they work really well. We don't have any, we have very limited coverage up here. Mostly because we provide our own utilities. So XL's not here, so they don't use it. We provide our own water. So there's not a need to have like Northern Water have that. So we've kind of got a hole here in the southwest part of the county as far as cameras. And that's been something that's been percolating out there for a couple of years. Since that time, we were also approached by a satellite company. Both Ian and I were approached by an organization, Aurora. I always have trouble. It looks like Oracle, but it's not. It's Aurora. And they have satellite service that they come over every 45 minutes, and they have a described area. It works the same way as a camera. We do have a proposal from them for about $33,000 for a pilot program for a year. We really think it's a great idea, but it would be a shared project between us and the town, and within the town, it would be shared between the police department from the emergency management function, and I think the electric utility as well. We haven't figured that all out yet. Okay, if we spend $33,000, who's gonna pay what? who's gonna actually own them, have the contract. We haven't figured that out yet. And, I can't, you know, in good conscience, bring you a proposal now to spend more money this year because we just took on a big obligation potentially for an election, unbudgeted. So I guess if you have any input, I'd certainly like to hear it. If all of a sudden things come together, we'll come back to you on it. And it's possible we may not get it done this year. Because anything that involves more than one agency, takes time to do. So I'm not asking for any other action.
Any questions?
I just want to make a comment. I met someone, I have to take it up, I'm sure I can find her contact information, but she works for like a large national company and they have a camera system that's operated by AI. And it's specifically for fire.
Yes.
And there's a lot of communities down in the valley. They utilize that, but you likely heard their name before, like, so is that where the, you know, the camera system that you're talking about?
Panel.
That type
Panel,
of,
panel camera is probably the
Yeah.
same. But there are several. You know, if we were long-term, might want to look at a full RFP process, you know, that whole thing, but we've been approached by these two companies, been working with the panel folks because the panel already operates front range cameras for the sheriff's department. And as we've heard from the sheriff's department today, they don't have much money right now. And that's one of the projects they had to cut this year. So we wouldn't be able to get the sheriff's department to do it. Plus Prospect Mountain location has a number of jurisdictional issues, land use issues of who owns what and whose towers you can use for what and those kinds of things. That all have to be worked through, which would be complicated.
And there's a lot of eyeballs on Prospect Mountain.
Yeah.
All around it.
Yeah. I think the information that I've seen in just the last few months, it seems like, you know, the satellite one might be the.
It's pretty expensive.
33,000.
Well, and the technology changes every 10 minutes and gets cheaper every 10 minutes as well. So
Well,
it sounds like
actually,
right now you don't really have a proposal for us.
We don't have a proposal.
And we don't have an idea how much the town is gonna put into this or anybody else. So how about when that develops a little bit more, we can have a discussion.
Yeah, that's what I just want to make sure you knew. It's something that's being worked on. It's a multi-jurisdictional project. And it could come together fast and we're back to you.
Any,
I had a question. Did you say $30,000 for a year?
Yeah.
That's every year?
Well, this would be just 1 year.
That's the pilot.
Oh, okay. I was like,
probably includes some of the installation.
yeah,
It's like waste management, we twice that.
Yeah, right.
Or, yeah. You know, with the technology, you know, the technology, actually, the satellite system is less expensive than the panel system. That was what I've seen, the fixed system.
All right, I'm gonna move on. If there are no other questions for Chief on this subject. Next item is 7G, which is our executive session. So I'm gonna ask for a motion to go into executive session in a moment, but we'll be entering executive session pursuant to CRS 24-6-402 4B for the purpose of receiving legal advice from the district's legal counsel related to the fire chief hiring process. And secondly, executive session pursuant to CRS 24-6-402 4B for the purpose of receiving legal advice from the district's counsel regarding the Fair Campaign Practices Act. May I have a motion to go into executive session, please?
I'll move to go into executive session.
May I have a second, please? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, no. The motion carried. We'll come back to open session when we're done.
Not sure.
All right, I'm gonna call us to order again, and let's start up now with next on our agenda. Reports, okay, let's turn first to Chief Landcamer.
Yeah, thank you. I'll go through the prevention side of the house. Logan has completed 57 home assessments and neighborhood assessments here today. So on good track. He presented at the Living with Fire Symposium several weeks ago, along with wildfire, forestry, and weather professionals from around northern Colorado. That event was fairly well attended, and he did really well, so thanks for doing that. Another reminder of our first pine needle and pine cone drop off that we're partnering with FESA on, that will be on July 18th, 9 to noon at the fairgrounds. Board of Realtors, like you mentioned earlier, will be hosting a pine beetle pheromone pocket giveaway pickup event here at the station this Saturday, June 6th, 10 to 1, up to 5 packets per household, first come, first served. And this was one of the projects that's funded by Lumber County OAM Community Mitigation Grant. He will be presenting information later this evening. The report was after he presented, so he presented today. Thanks, Will. Captain Sutherland is working on plan review experience with plan reviewer Whitney, providing comments for multiple projects, some of them very large, like Stanley. Captain Sutherland has interviews next week. Monday, we interview for the Inspector 1 position. We have 4 candidates that we'll interview. And it'll be Stacy, myself, Whitney, and Rebecca in that interview time. Looking forward to that, hoping to get that filled and get that going as well. She's also continuing inspections needed, mostly on new construction, special events. She provided training for auxiliary members for inspections on special events and tents, and beginning a ride-along training. We just had a thought that farmers market's coming pretty soon too.
Sweet.
Yeah, so here we go. Summer's here. Next events this month are Pride in the Park, which is this coming weekend, correct? And then the Wool Market later in the month. Prevention division is happy to announce Sarah Barton is our new wildfire risk reduction project specialist. It's her second day and she's attending a board meeting already. She was good enough to come in Friday on the 29th to do a site visit for Larimer County Conservation Corps, who's doing the Coast Walk project. Starts in a few weeks, June 22nd. They'll be moving in for 8 weeks of mitigation work on Prospect. That'll be great. So welcome.
Yes, thank you.
We're excited, and she's got a great background, and we're excited to get her right to work. Got some stuff lined up. I'll be working with her on finalizing agreements for the CWDG Thunder Mountain project. We're again still working with Lumber County Office or Emergency Services to do some of that work, but there's more to come. I'm working on grant implementation and management still for the 22 Furworm grant, which is what pays half of Logan's salary, and 23 CWDG and 2025 Coast Swap. So still a lot going on. Logan and I participated in the tour at McGregor Ranch last week, before last. There's a conference in Fort Collins that want to come up and look at the work that's going on out of McGregor Ranch, and that project just continues to draw a lot of attention for our community. Really great partnership out there. They've done a lot of good work, and that's really what the focus of the tour was, focusing on partnership and collaboration between agencies to make projects like that happen. So their forest restoration work out there is showcased frequently. So a lot of good work going on. Stacy and I'll be interviewing, I already said that, Monday. And I continue to attend partner meetings when possible, but now Sarah's gonna start on some of those as well. And Logan's been active in some of them as well, so we'll kind of divide and conquer and make sure we keep those partnerships going. And then just a reminder, Lumber County will be hosting a 50-year commemoration of the Big Thompson flood on July 31st of this year to remember that day. That's really all I had. I didn't have anything for facilities here.
Thank you. Any questions for Chief
Yeah,
Lincoln?
I have a question. You mentioned the Fairnote packets. What is the difference, or which one works better, the Fairnote or having your tree sprayed?
Good question. You have a good answer on that? Or opinion?
It's very new, but I would assume that the packets would be, but because spray, it could be washed away, there's different things that could happen. as the packets, I feel like they'd be able to withstand, more weather and more things where they'll be able to last longer and continue to do work, but.
It's interesting, because I know there's the Fairmont packet for quite a while. And because I even got some old ones in my garage, but we've always had our trees sprayed. I didn't know. I should go to that expense to have that done, because it's expensive.
Pheromone packets, let the other pine beetles know that this tree is taken.
Yeah, right.
So hopefully they skip it and go to another tree. That's what the packets do, and then the spraying is more of an insecticide,
Are
right?
you supposed
Yeah.
to put it on every tree, or does it like, take care of like a,
It's
like
very
a
specific.
100 square feet, whatever.
I believe it's tree specific.
Just one on the
Per
tree.
tree.
I would need 7,000 Fairmont packets.
But you're calm.
So again, I
We're
mean,
limited to 5.
we could talk a lot about thinning and keeping your mature trees healthy is a big part of being able to ward off the mountain pine beetles. So if you got a big tree with a bunch of little trees around it, and you thin and you take out some of the little trees, it helps make the remaining tree stronger. So all those things,
About that as far as I didn't know which one.
all those things
better.
combined, yeah.
They each have little nuances to them. The packets, they might not be as effective the more drastic the pine beetle outbreak is. Their efficacy goes down. So if it's a really overwhelming year for pine beetles, it's not gonna be as effective, the packets. If it's moderate or mild to moderate, see, quote me on this, but I believe it's more like 80% efficacy in terms of saving that tree. Chemical spray, my understanding is, it does have very strong efficacy, but it has to be done every year.
Right.
And it is a lot more expensive.
It is, and I know that it also kills some of the good bugs.
It does kill good bugs.
Spruce.
Yeah.
We had lost some spruce trees because we sprayed.
Thanks again.
Thanks.
Any other questions for Chief Landcamera? No? All right, Chief Kirby, your turn.
I'll start with training. Tomorrow night, we're finishing up our Swiftwater training for this year. We have 12 Swiftwater swimmers who have not had very good water this year, so they've only been in the water once. They're hoping to get in again tomorrow night. But that training is wrapping up. We have several different trainings in the coming weeks. We have a wildland scenario. We have helicopter landing zone training, which we haven't done in a few years. So it just gives our members an opportunity to walk around the helicopter and they explain what they like to see in the landing zone if we have to land one somewhere other than the hospital. We have a membership meeting and a family dinner coming up this month. We're starting our new recruitment. So Chris has been working on a banner. So we have a new banner that's going to be displayed on our trailer. We'll put it out in front of the station to help attract maybe some new members to the organization. He's hosting a informational meeting on the 13th of June for any interested candidates who might have questions or want to come in and learn about the fire department. We will be, I'll pass this around. We will be putting those out in local stores around town for people to get this, take them and just get us out there a little bit. Get a little more personality. Yeah. Chris and I, maybe, Stacy will be doing a fire extinguisher training with the rec district staff coming up in the next week, I believe. And then the next big thing for training is Fire Academy. Believe it or not, we're already talking about Fire Academy and starting the end of July this year. So we got a lot of prep work that we have to get done up there at the Fire Academy to get ready for, or at the training grounds to get ready for Fire Academy. Captain Spear is also getting ready to start an engineer academy. He has 6 members signed up to go through. I don't know the details of the weeks and everything. Do you want to talk on that for a minute?
It's 52 hours training, more or less. And it'll be 9 days of driving apparatus and flowing water and everything from our type 6 smaller engines all the way up to our type 1 frontline structural engines and everything in between. The only thing we don't train on in that class is a lot of that. And the small vehicles.
Yeah, a lot of effort from Captain Spear and his instructors to put that on, but I believe we've seen the benefit in the class last year with some new engineers coming through and being pretty competent when they get out of the class with Captain Spirit. Operations, we have got the Starlink installed in our command vehicles. The MDTs will be updated early next week with PFA, Poudre Fire Authority IT department comes up and helps us with that. Planning for the 4th of July is in the works. As far as we know, the fireworks are still going, so working on the IAP and adding in, working with the other cooperating agencies in the hospital, police department, sheriff, putting that IAP together. It's 16 pages long. It's a pretty big deal to make sure we're all on the same page, and then also getting our mutual aid departments to come in and help with the event on that day. We had a meeting a couple weeks ago. I think the 3 of us were in there with Larimer County, SSPD, and the Larimer Sheriff on evacuation briefings, just talking about the correct terminology and what we should be doing if we hope we don't have to evacuate, but if we have to do that, we're all on the same page. Captain and lieutenant promotional interviews are coming up this month as well.
In June, I believe they're more or less scheduled.
We're going back and forth. It's hard to get a bunch of volunteers and panel members together to schedule the time. We have 4 lieutenant applications and 2 for a captain. So it's good that the people want to move up to the ranks within our department. All the apparatus just got completed with the annual fleet maintenance, including oil changes and inspections. Garrett, our fleet mechanic, compiles a list of anything that he finds on our apparatus and then puts it all together. As long as it's not something that puts it out of service, obviously that takes priority and he'll get it back in service. But these are minor things that need to get done. So there's a few on each one of our apparatus, it seems like, but over the next couple of months, he'll start getting those in and getting our stuff up to snuff. That's all I have. Questions?
Questions for Chief? Me, okay.
Yeah, so not much to report. We are up on calls. So at this time last year, we had 246 calls to date, 53 for the month of May. Currently, we are at a district of 328 total calls this year and 87 for the month of May. So almost a 64% increase in the month, almost 33% for the year. We haven't had time to compile and do some data analysis, but by next board meeting, we're hoping to figure out why, to see, because we're kind of curious on our side too, why such a jump, I mean, especially month of May in itself. So yeah, we'll get back with you guys on that one as far as big call increase and why kind of helpers, types of stuff. As far as other membership going on, the hydrant flags I mentioned last time, they arrived, so the auxiliary members are gonna be starting to put those together and getting those distributed out to the new Carriage Hills water project going on out there with all the new hydrants. So you'll start seeing flag popping up on the naked hydrants here pretty soon. Their auxiliary team is also gonna be pretty heavily involved with Stacy at the farmers market too, starting this week. So other than that, not much else for membership. Kind of status quo there.
I think the 2 big snowstorms we had in May contributed to it.
To what?
The numbers. Maybe we forgot to drive over the winter.
No. Actually, I think going into fire restrictions earlier this year than something we have in the past, and I think that's, people are pretty vigilant, thank you, on, like, they see flames and they're calling us, so there's a lot of additional officer calls, it seems like, that were going on. And a lot of, I mean, they see flames, not very many illegal campfires, a lot of it's propane, so, but it's hard to tell from the distance what that is, so we definitely had an increase in officer calls.
Agreed. Yeah, and these numbers don't break down that, so that's why we want to get those analytics next month for you guys, so we'll be able to break it down to say the reason why is actual page calls may be the same, but officer calls, I know they've definitely increased for sure. So,
Any other questions?
Sorry.
no, you're good.
Great report, thank you. All right, there is no unfinished or old business. I have I have 2 keepers over here now. Evidently, I need 2 of them. All right, I'm sorry, I did not mean to overlook you. It's your turn.
Couple quick things, a lot of stuff going on, both on the community risk reduction side and operations and training, so great reports. Couple things, One is, I don't know, you may not be aware of this, but we are connected, our dispatch centers are connected together through the entire county, through the VIA pool. And they provide the backup. If one dispatch center goes down, the other one can pick it up, those kinds of things. They do the alert system, all that stuff. Well, up until just recently, there was only one connection between the Estes Valley and all the up Front Range, and that went down to Big Thompson Canyon. They have just completed a loop down Highway 36 to Longmont and then back up to Fort Collins. So that's a great improvement. It provides redundancy in the emergency communication system, and it's been in the works for several years. So Justin's gonna go down and represent us, I think, next week.
I think it's Wednesday.
Or Wednesday, to represent us in kind of a ceremony to celebrate that. I know Ian Stewart's going down as well, and he's been a big player in it. So that's a big deal. I mean, it's one of those things that goes on in the background that nobody thinks about, but is really important to the public safety development. Another thing that I want to mention quickly is John and I have had a little bit of discussion about the fire restrictions of whether we have conditions here in the Estes Valley that are different than many other parts of the county, and whether we should talk about relaxing some of those restrictions here, up here. We're not sure about that. We don't know how that works. John's gonna have some contact with the sheriff's folks. I think certainly the town, the town can do less restrictions if they wanted to. We're not sure about the district being in the incorporated part of the county. The park is only on stage 1 restrictions, whereas the rest of us are on stage 2. So we're looking at that. I don't know whether we'll look at doing anything with that at all. But it's something we're talking. See whether we can do something with it. There's a couple things. One is that I'd hate to see us get into a situation of this week we're in stage 2, next week we're in stage 1. Oops, now we're back to stage 2. And because our entire jurisdiction is a mishmash of in the town and outside of the town, we've already got differences and restrictions between the park and us. Now, if we had differences between the park, the town, the district, and the county, it would make it even more complicated. So we're looking at that. We are sensitive to the impact of, the full fire ban, on the ambiance of campground openings, whatever it is. We don't have a solution for it. We're not asking for really any direction from you all, but just let you know that we are starting to have those discussions. And lastly, I'll be gone Thursday this week till Thursday of next week. Justin will be acting chief. So I've already briefed him up on what he needs to be dealing with, on issues of dealing with the election, just as we've already talked about. Rebecca will be the lead on that. So I think we've got everything, in place. I'll still be available by telephone or text if necessary. But I'm far enough away that I won't be able to come back unless there's something really terrible happens. But we got Justin and John are good at what they do. They take care of business as well as all of our officers.
Any questions for Chief?
Why would you, why are you thinking about relaxing?
Just, our conditions, if you look at all of the data out there right now, we're really back to kind of close to a normal year as far as drought. The drought has kind of moved off. We're kind of back into now. We're one step above normal, but we're not in that extreme anymore. The indices of the fuel moistures are starting to come up. The 1,000-hour fuel moisture, which is the big trees, are still low, but everything else is starting to come up. We're getting into a rainier pattern, I think, than we've anticipated. The monsoon is projected to come in earlier, so it'll be maybe a little cooler and a little more wet. Might be more lightning. That's an issue. So the conditions are starting to change a little bit in our favor. So you know, we don't wanna be overly burdensome if we don't have to be. But at the same time, we have to be sensitive to our relationships with the other agencies and not create a mishmash of, you know, requirements. And certainly we should be under stage one.
It's really important to take into account like campground. You know, it costs them money, but not being able to have campfires. And all the time that I was chief, I don't ever remember having a call from a commercial campground on a fire got away from a commercial campground. Because they have people on site all the time. It really affects the financial aspects of those businesses.
Sure does.
And we want to make sure that we're aware of that. And plus, I want to be able to use my smoker.
Traeger sitting on the
It is, it's a.
I don't think real fire out there. I was just hoping a grill on the deck. Otherwise, I don't know if we've had any grill fires since I've been.
We have gotten into it. Yeah, I was just wondering, because we have gotten a little bit of moisture, but it's still very dry. obviously.
And I don't think we would ever suggest going out of stage one for sure.
Well, stage one is fun, because you still can have an open fire somewhere, it's just.
And we're watching the weather, and I was hopeful for more chances of rain, but now it's looking like Saturday, Sunday. And the high eighties in Denver, and what's that gonna be like up here? So I wanna see how the moisture we've got reacting to that. Takes a little bit of fire to get those 1,000-hour fuels going, but we don't wanna encourage that, so.
Well, thanks for looking at it.
Yeah, interesting. I just question. Just wondering.
So will you have more detailed information next month when you come back, like where we're at with the county, how we can regulate? Independent, you said you were starting that conversation.
Yeah, we're
You
starting.
guys have that.
Yeah,
Start to have that
I always like
conversation.
to talk to them, and, you know, we made the decision to go into stage one before the county did, because what we were seeing up here was drier than normal for, I mean, this is a green up time, it's really rare to have fire restrictions right now.
When you say we, is that you and chief, or is there a group that you guys get together and discuss it, or how does that decision made? Like officially?
For our district, it's made normally, we discuss it with everybody, ops chief.
I used to know that our district had official, like, or a very official policy of like what conditions or what thoughts have to be, or is it just you
It's
look at
pretty
it?
informal right now, but we are
Okay.
looking at being more formal
Perfect.
with that, yes.
Nice.
Any other questions for Chief?
Thanks, Chief.
That's it.
Thank you, Chief. All right, so we don't have any unfinished or old business.
I want to say something, that's not really on business, but,
Okay.
earlier I made the statement of that email that goes out off of your report.
Oh,
That it should say how much Estes Valley and how much the county is, and the only reason I think that is because people are paying taxes towards that.
Yeah.
And it shows them where their 1A fund is going.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
So,
100%.
I didn't know if anybody said that was why I brought that up.
No.
I think it definitely should have a price tag to it, so people here paying taxes know where they're.
Right, I think it's a good idea.
And Josh assured us that that would be in there. So
Yeah.
Yep, that's no
if you
problem.
could just monitor that.
Make sure that gets in.
Anything else unfinished or old business? All right, new business. Call for board members to state any new business.
I have something I'd kind of like to discuss. I know, when I got on, Chief Wolf changed the meetings. I think he was meeting with the president once a month or once a week. And then he'd meet with 2 board members twice a month, like every other week, or, and you said it best, a lot of stuff going on. We've got these reports. Seems like it's like drinking from a fire hose when you come to the meetings, and I was wondering if we could re-implement that, or at least make it available to the board members, that maybe once a month, 2 of us, 2 different meetings, 2 of us could come in outside of Sandy or with Sandy, either way, or however that works, but I know that that had been a long time tradition through the last several chiefs of doing this, and I think as a board member, it'd be beneficial to me to have that interaction outside of a formal meeting on a regular basis.
If we do it with Sandy, it would have to be like every week, because it would
Well, I
only
mean-
be one of us with Sandy.
One with Sandy or 2 people, right, otherwise.
Well, okay, so as I understand it. As I understood it, when I was meeting with the chief once a week. I was told my very first day on the board that that was the practice. of this department. I did not know went all the way back to Wolf, but it was Chief Capo at the time who told me. But I've heard a significant amount of concern or criticism about once a week meetings. So but that is that, but I do understand that it has been the practice. I think they are beneficial. It might be better to have one of you attend a meeting with me each week. And then that way it maybe decreases the number of meetings. It would require you to agree to continue the once a week meetings as opposed to not wanting, okay. So, because, you know, I've actually heard a fair amount of criticism about the once a week meetings, so somehow I'm invading, invading, you know, management or something, and I understood that was what the policy, this goes back to.
It's it, as long as yeah, it's been practiced that way since Wolf got here, or shortly after, as far as, I don't know. Anybody else can probably,
That is a correct statement.
yeah.
Since.
The board met relatively regularly with the sitting fire chief at the time, two at a time, and I don't know if it was every week or not, but it was.
It was usually the meeting, it was usually our meetings used to be on Wednesdays, and it was the Monday before the board meeting. So it was
Okay.
really only once right before the board meeting. itself.
With other board members, but with the
It was
president. it sounds like-
rotating, it wasn't always the president, it was rotating two people. I have the old schedules I can show you,
Okay.
it was never consistently the president.
I'm up for whatever frequency, I know that, I'd like to have a little more one-on-one time to sit down and chat, other than just the formal meetings. Have the opportunity to just, you know, get the workings. I know you guys are getting a lot done, and it's coming pretty fast.
Yeah, I don't know that once a week is necessary. I mean, what it might be beneficial to do is every 2 weeks, does that?
I think you and I were gonna meet after the meeting a couple of days, and then a meeting to plan the next meeting.
Right, so that's twice a month.
Twice.
And it can't really be 2 days before a meeting
No,
because the way our schedule is, yeah. Cause I think, Rebecca, we've decided I should get the agenda to you by, I don't remember our calendar.
The final agenda from you would be the Wednesday before.
Yeah, so our meeting, right, so our meeting would have to, our meeting before the next board meeting would have to probably be the previous week, just to make sure that I can do all the things necessary to get her the agenda on a Wednesday. Okay, so if we did twice a week, and one of you, I'm sorry, good lord, not twice a week.
You got criticism.
I got criticism before, wait, yeah, right now. So if we did twice a month and then maybe one of you came with me each time, how would that work for each of you? Would that make you feel like you're getting a little bit more information than you're currently getting? That would be like basically every
other
4 weeks, you'd be like once a month meeting. Right? No, I'm sorry, it'd be 8 weeks. Yeah, it'd be every other month. Is that enough or?
Seems like a little bit, you know, I don't know why we would change the frequency now, especially with an interim chief and not having the regular chief, but I'm okay to try whatever frequency it works with the board. I just know that I would like a little more.
Let's stick with the policy, and when the new chief comes in, I can tell him, or the policy, the practice. I was told the practice was once a week, president with then Chief Capo, and then I carried that through with Stacy and then with all of the interim people. I don't really feel comfortable changing that, I think, now that I think about it, until we get a new chief and we can raise it with him and say, look, this has been the practice since Chief Wolf was here. This is what we were told when we came on board. We want you to start thinking about this as you get involved in managing, and then you can decide what the frequency ought to be. So I think, Chief, we're gonna need to meet once a week, and then I'm gonna bring one person from the board with me. And this is not me imposing anything on you. Again, you know, as I've told you before, this isn't I don't necessarily have time for once a big meetings, frankly, but this is what I was told to expect, and that's what I have tried to do as a volunteer here and as somebody who wants to do as much as I can to help. If we have nothing to talk about, we can finish our coffee and leave, but, let's do once a week. I will have one other board member with me each time. That way every board member gets to participate in the meeting every month. How does that sound to each of you?
It works, I guess.
All right, well, there you
I'm
go.
doing more meetings than I have to. We're doing a lot of meetings.
Then you can cancel. You don't have to participate. It's totally okay.
Certainly might do.
And what I can do, if you can't come one time, I can just send you an email and tell you what we talked about. Okay, and the same goes for all the rest of you, but at least then you all have that opportunity and nobody's missing out. And then we're continuing the practice that's been evidently around a lot longer than even I thought. And until we get a new permanent chief, and then I think that person and we can sit down and decide what's, given the experience. I mean, I think the weekly meetings, frankly, up until recently were necessary. When I met with Stacy, some of those meetings would go for 2.5 hours. It was a different time. It was a different time for sure, but we also have a new chief coming.
We're also not out of the woods on everything that's taking place and changes and this
Yeah.
stuff. And we got the chief said it's a heavy lift coming up.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, and there've been, okay, so yeah, I can go back to once a week meeting. I'm gonna have to look at my schedule now, cause I've taken them all off. So we're gonna have to decide on the time. Friday, can we go back to Fridays at 8? Friday, our meetings are Friday morning at 8 o'clock at Coffee on the Rocks. Any non-board member who wishes to come and visit, feel free.
Not this Friday.
Not this Friday, of course. With Justin, why don't you come? I'll meet you at Friday at Coffee on the Rocks at Friday at 8 o'clock in the morning. Because you are going to be acting chief, right? So we can talk about you.
I'll take the first.
You're
shift.
gonna take the first shift with Justin. All right, so we're gonna do once a week. One board member is gonna be with us each time. Please don't complain to me. I have not set this rule. I'm not the one who put this practice into place. I have been trying, however, to obey it. So I'm going
I
to
could upset
continue to do so.
anybody, I just.
All right. Any other discussion on the subject of all of our meetings? And anything else? Oh, okay. Moving on, you guys have a tour. I already got a tour. Stacy gave me a tour. I got the special tour a couple months ago, so the rest of you are gonna go on a tour. We're gonna do that after the adjournment. So I'm gonna make announcements. The next, we did talk earlier about meeting on June 29th. We're gonna do that as a work session on June 29th, Monday. It starts at 4:30 p.m. And that will be to discuss the survey results. The next regularly scheduled meeting is going to be earlier than that, actually, sorry, on June 22nd, 2026 at 4:30 p.m. Did y'all follow that? One is the 22nd, one's the 29th. I just kind of reversed the order. Any questions about that? All right.
Sandy, I think.
Yes, sir.
Probably looking a little bit forward, probably. If you approve the chief's contract, if all goes well, probably like the 8th or 13th of July, I'm guessing.
Let's talk about
Don't have
that.
to schedule it now. I'll bet it's about that.
Yeah, we'll know more about that at the June 22nd meeting, because at that time, hopefully we will appoint a committee to do the negotiations and enter into the contract and give them that authority, and as those negotiations continue, we'll have a better sense of the timing of the contract. I don't think we're gonna have, I mean, we might need to have a special meeting, probably in mid-July, to sign the contract, just so we can get this person on board. But I think, all of us are flexible, and we can do that by Zoom too. We don't need to necessarily do that in person. All right, anything else? I can look over my glasses too,
Motion to adjourn.
May I have a motion to adjourn this meeting, please?
I'll second it.
Who made the first?
I did.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carried.